Guys, so today we're going to be spraying out the perennial rye and our Bermuda overseed from the fall. And so to do that today, we're going to be using a product called MSM Turf. And this stuff's really good at knocking out cool season grasses that's in warm season turf. So don't spray this on your cool season turf, it will kill it. But in Bermuda, this stuff works really well. But if you find yourself that you've got, a lot of weedy grasses and cool season grasses in your warm season turf, you may want to look at another product called Negate 37WG. I use this to get rid of the poania that's in Bermuda, and this stuff works really, really well. And it will knock all that poania, the cool season stuff that you get that's just kind of like, it's just weed-like is what we have out here. It's not like a cool season turf. It's kind of a nice blade. It's just weed grass. And so if you have that, Negate 37WG will definitely do the trick. But for today, we're going to be using MSM Turf. So just to give you guys an idea of what this product looks like, it's just a really fine chopped up product like this. And it doesn't take much at all. We're talking about grams. Just a few grams is all it takes to get rid of perennial rye and any kind of Bermuda that you have. And so whenever you purchase MSM, they send you this measuring cup here. And what it is it's broken into ounces of weight. So you can see this line right here is 0.1 ounce of weight. And so when I do the math on this stuff to figure out how much I need for 2,700 square foot of Bermuda that's out front, I need 0.025 ounces. So we're talking about a very small amount. So we're talking about a quarter of this line here. So you just want to make sure you don't overdo it with this stuff. This stuff will burn your Bermuda if you put too much down. So you want to be real cautious and pay attention to what you're putting in. And use some common sense when you're measuring this stuff out, because the weight of it is so light, even in grams, that even a scale sometimes won't pick it up, because we're talking about the weight of a paper clip. And so you've got to kind of use your brain and use the math to figure out how much ounces of this product that you need to make sure that you don't burn your Bermuda. So our perennial rye out front's looking really great. The stripes are looking fantastic out there, but it's time to go ahead and start spraying that stuff out so we can let the Bermuda come through. Because if you look down underneath all the perennial rye, you can see I've got really thick green Bermuda wanting to come up. And so it's ready to be sprayed out. The Bermuda is ready to be scalped and verticut. And so as far as the time frame is on doing any of this kind of work, you want to pay attention to usually April and Easter. Easter especially is whenever you want to start paying attention to wanting to do any kind of aerating, verticutting, scalping, any of that kind of work. And then secondly, on Labor Day weekend, that time frame is when you want to do your second round of any aerating if you're going to do it for the year. And so right now our temperatures are averaging 70 and 80 degrees for the most part. It's a little chilly this morning, but on average that's kind of where we're at right now here in West Texas. And so it's time to go ahead and spray that stuff out and get the Bermuda ready. And if you pay attention around here, the golf courses are starting to do their scalps and verticuts on the fairways as well. And so that's just kind of how I follow along with them, just the maintenance practices that they're doing. I just pay attention to what they're doing. And so right now, like I say, is the time to go ahead and start spraying this stuff out and get the Bermuda ready to go. So once you guys have your product measured out in this measuring cup, what you want to do is add some water to a measuring cup, pour this product into it, mix this up really well and make a slurry, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to pour this product directly into your spray tank, because it doesn't mix in very well by itself. Even with the agitation running, what happens is it'll stick to the bottom of your tank and just kind of streak. And it's really hard to get that stuff off the bottom of your tank all on its own. But if you mix it up in a slurry really well, it turns into what looks like a milky product. Then you can just pour that into your tank and let it agitate for a good while, and you won't have any issues with it. And you can spray this stuff in a pump sprayer, you can use a backpack sprayer, you can use a push sprayer like what we use. It doesn't really matter, but my advice would be is if you're going to use a hand pump sprayer, at least use a 2-gallon one and do split applications of this stuff where you're only spraying maybe 1,000 square foot at a time, because you really want to make sure you've got enough water in the delivery of this product in each section that you're spraying. You don't want this to go in too hot and heavy and create a bunch of hot spots in your Bermuda, because it will burn it. And so if you just take your time with it, and make sure you got enough water in each 1,000 square foot section, you'll be fine. but you just want to make sure that you got enough water, and make sure that you're measuring out the right amount of product, because I'm using 2,700 square foot and I'm using a quarter of 0.1 ounces. So if we double that to say 5,000 square foot, we're still only looking at 0.05 ounces of weight in this product. So we're talking half of the amount of this line versus a quarter of it. So I keep reminding you of that you're dealing with weight of a paper clip, the stuff that doesn't take a lot. And something that you're not going to see is you're not going to see the yard go totally brown with this. And the reason for that is it depends on the type of perennial ryegrass that you're using, but the kind that I have, it holds its color really well. It's a dark green perennial rye. It's a fairway quality seed that we use. And so what happens for me is I'll spray this stuff out and sometimes it'll brown, but what normally happens to the majority of it is just the growth will halt. And so you'll go a week or two after you sprayed it and you won't even need to mow, it just won't grow, but it'll still have its green color in some cases. And so you don't have to keep spraying a ton of this stuff to get it to go brown, because what it's doing is it is killing that perennial rye. It just keeps its color and it halts its growth. And so be smart about it. Don't use a whole lot of it, and just pay attention to what you're doing. Everything will come out just fine. So now we got everything measured out and ready to go. We're going to let it agitate in that tank for a really good while. Make sure it gets mixed up really well. You don't want to add any fertilizers or any extra products with this. You just want to spray the MSM alone by itself. And like I said, pay attention to make sure you're spraying that out evenly per 1,000 square foot section, depending on how much water you have available in your tank, and everything will be okay. So we're going to let that agitate for a good while, and then let's go spray out this perennial rye. So that's going to do it for the perennial ryegrass for this year. And so once you guys spray out that MSM, you want to make sure you wash out your tank really well, multiple times, wash your spray tips. You don't want any of that residue left in your tank, especially if you've got any cool season turf like I do. You want to make sure you get rid of that stuff because it will damage it. So just, when you're done, make sure you wash everything out really well and you'll be okay moving forward. And so now we got that sprayed out. Here in a couple weeks, we'll start doing our scalps, and verticut is what I'm going to do. And the reason I do scalps and verticuts for a few reasons. The scalp helps get rid of all the perennial ryegrass that's in there, and it also helps get rid of any of the thatch that I had left over from last summer. And I like to come in with the verticutter and just break up that canopy, cut cut it up where it's not as thick. That way some air, water, moisture, all that stuff can get in there, because what has happened to me in the past with the Bermuda is when we use plant growth regulators, that stuff gets so thick and dense that the water will start to run on top of it, and it's hard for it to get down. So we'll take that verticut through there just to thin that stuff up for this year, just to break it all up, and it'll produce, you know, a better growth habit for us this year. And so it's going to look really great here in a few weeks. You know, we're going to scalp it and verticut it. We'll throw some fertilizer down on it and some other products and really get that stuff to take off. And before long, they'll be looking like a fairway out there. So I'm really excited about that. I really do enjoy that perennial ryegrass. I love putting that down every fall. That stuff just looks great. I love the dark green color. I love the stripes that we get in it. It just makes the yard really stand out on the block throughout the fall and the winter, because here in West Texas, everything's dormant through the fall and the winter unless you have fescue. So there's very few people that have fescue. Most of them have Bermuda or St. Augustine out here, and some zoysia around here, but not a whole lot. But that stuff all goes dormant, so I really enjoy putting that perennial rye down. This looks really, really good and stands out in the neighborhood. And you know, I wish I could keep it all year round, but that stuff just can't stand the heat here that we get in West Texas. You know, sometimes in the summer we'll get up to 105, 110 degrees, and that stuff will just fry under that kind of heat. So that's why we get rid of it. That's why we scalp it and get rid of it here and let the Bermuda take over, because that stuff just looks really, really good. It loves the heat, and it's going to look like a really nice fairway here for too much longer. And so guys, I think that's going to do it for this one. We'll see you guys in the next one.